Okay, welcome everyone. It's the meeting of the North East Derbyshire District Council's Cabinet. It's the 9th of September 2021. With me in the room is Councillor Carolyn Rennick and Councillor Charlotte Cupit. I'm Councillor Alex Dale, I'm the leader of the council. We also have Mrs. Sarah Sternberg, the monitoring officer, and Nicola Carver, who's the governance manager. And then on screen we have Councillor Powell, Lee Hickin, Cass Drury, Jill Callingham, Alan Marr, and Tina. I'm sorry, there's a notice in the way, and I've forgotten your surname, Tina. It's Tina Cross-Morris.
Cross-Morris.
Cross-Morris, that was it. Yeah, something in the way. Sorry, and Asher Bond, who's one of the governance officers as well. So, welcome everyone. First item is apologies for absence. We have apologies from Councillor Parkin, who is on annual leave and away at the moment. Jane Dethick, who's been ably stood in for by Tina, and Councillor Kenyon is trying to get down here but is stuck in traffic, so may not be with us. And I think that's it so far, unless there's any others, Alan.
None received, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And then declarations of interest. I don't think there's any from my perspective. Are there any others to record? No? Okay, thank you. Minutes of the last meeting. I'll happily propose them as a true and accurate record. Do we have a seconder? Okay, thank you, Councillor Cupit. All those in favour? And then the next paper is Council Plan Targets Performance Update. So I'll hand over to Kath, who's going to just talk us through the highlights of this paper.
Okay, thanks, Chair. So as you can note on the covering report, that's the status of this split between the targets. So good to see this time that fewer targets have been affected by COVID, and we expect at Q2 for even fewer targets to be affected now that the restrictions came off during Q1. Approximately over half the targets are on track, and quite a few have been achieved this time. So I think it's fair to say the corporate plan targets are progressing nicely. The report covers the split between the council aims, and you'll note there are 3 targets in total that have been flagged as alert. Just to reassure Cabinet that all these targets are in hand, as you'll note from the commentary provided in the appendix. So the first one is Eco 20, and that's to do with the tourism post and the review of economic development, and that's expected to be signed off at Q2. That's gone through and been approved. And the other one is under Environment 08, and that's a climate change strategy by April 21. You'll see from the update as well that both Councillor Powell and Kenyon are contributing to that piece of work, and that's continuing. So I expect that hopefully won't be far off completion by about Q2. And then the last one is the council petition scheme, which we know was behind schedule, but we agreed to keep it as overdue for the purpose of this report, but we are working to an extension in December. Just by way of update from the commentary provided in the appendix, this was due to go to Standards Committee in September, but that meeting has been cancelled. So it will be going to Standards Committee in November. So that's just for members' attention there. And we've also got an outturn on this report as well regarding voluntary and community organisations. So Res 21. I also know you've got a separate report on today, so you'll be getting a lot more information on this agenda regarding this item. But you can see from the outturn there, just under 18,000 vulnerable and disadvantaged households have been assisted through the grant funding that the council makes. That's actually below target, which is unusual because usually this exceeds target. But you'll note there that COVID's had quite an impact on this target. So there's obviously still been plenty of advice and reassurance given to people and support. But I think COVID has meant that some people who normally prefer face-to-face contact may have not come forward during the COVID time at the height of the restrictions. And because of the government support, that's actually meant that some people have not needed advice that they would normally seek regarding mortgage arrears and evictions and that type of thing. So it's had some strange knock-on effect on that target. But members have got a separate report just after my item, so there'll be more detail from the officer there. And I think that the only other thing to note is the other recommendation regarding increased social media posts. So this is really well established now. The comms department are regularly exceeding this target every month, usually in excess of about 300 social media posts. So it's now really embedded as part of that service. It's part of what they do. And we've now got a service level indicator to monitor this, so it doesn't fall off members' radar. It will still be reported through the quarterly performance reports, but I don't think we probably need to keep it now as a council plan target because it is embedded and business as usual. So that's just a bit of explanation around the second recommendation. And that concludes my report, Chair.
Okay, thanks very much, Kath. Yeah, on the whole, it looks very good. It looks like we're doing well in terms of achieving our targets, and COVID is having less of an impact, which is very positive. And the recommendation seems sensible in terms of the social media, moving that one on. It's, as you say, very well established now. So I'm happy to move recommendations. Is there a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Cupid. And Councillor Rennick, you have a question on the paper.
Yeah, it was just really an update, just on the Eco 20, the review to ensure tourism is a focus. It is just worth putting in there that we had an intern who's really done some of the work that we wanted anyway, and I think it'd be worth just putting that into this in terms of the resource. We've had a really useful resource in tourism. Her contract had been extended as well, so she's really sort of continued the work that we would have had for the post holder. So that it is worth mentioning.
Thanks, Councillor Rennick. I was going to point that one out myself, actually, because I wondered whether we'd already achieved that one, but I suppose it depends on the wording. It talks about more additional resources, doesn't it? So
yeah, I think it's a full-time resource,
full-time. Okay,
rather
right.
than the intern, but she's done a great job.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for that. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, and we'll move to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. And the next item is funding to voluntary and community organisations, and this is the summary of the outcomes for the previous financial year. So I'll hand over to Councillor Powell, who's going to talk us through this one.
Thank you, Chair. Well, as you know, every year the council funds a number of voluntary sector organisations to help our residents in a number of ways. To ensure that our council taxpayers' money is being spent wisely, we of course check the outcomes of the projects and the organisations that we fund. The investment in these voluntary organisations is measured in accordance with the current council plan, with targets and as has already been mentioned by Kath, to assist vulnerable and disadvantaged households. This monitoring ensures value for money, as we aim to make sure that voluntary organisations reach as many households as possible. Bearing in mind the boost to these resources that the council gives. There were more than 18,000 households were helped in the year under review. That is less than normal, as Kath has pointed out. The lack of face-to-face meetings because of the pandemic and the lockdowns has been a significant factor. But nevertheless, I would like to commend to you the remarkable achievement of these voluntary organisations who have really stepped up to the plate for us and kept things going despite the difficulties that they have. And as part of what I want to say this afternoon, I think in monitoring and helping these organisations with advice and assistance, I'd like to thank the council's partnership team, particularly Steve Lee and Tris Burdett. They really are a credit to the council in the work that they do in helping all these organisations. So therefore, I would ask members simply to note the contents of the report, which is all we're required to do at this stage. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Powell. I'm happy to second that.
Sorry, Chair, Councillor Powell can't actually move the motion, so we think we need someone in the room.
I've forgotten about that. Sorry. Thanks, Alan. I'll happily move the recommendations then, and Councillor Kenyon, if you can second, brilliant. Yeah, just to echo the comments that Councillor Powell's made, it's obviously it's been a difficult year for all organisations, but clearly these many of these organisations that we've been supporting have been doing a fantastic job in supporting their communities, and absolutely echo the comments around the partnerships team and all of their work on this. So yeah, happy to move it forward. So we'll move to a vote. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried. Thank you for that. So the next item is urgent items, of which there are none, and exclusion of the press and public. I'll move that the public be excluded from the meeting during the discussion of the following items of business to avoid the disclosure to them of exempt information as defined in Part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, as amended by the Local Government Access to Information Variation Order 2006. So yeah, I think that's that covered.
Second that.
Thank you. Do we have to vote on that, Sarah? I remember. Yeah, okay. All those in favour?